Buying a broken CPU is already a bad idea. Buying 5 of them? That's probably 5 times worse. In my previous attempts, I got lucky. I didn't lose all my money because at least one of them actually worked perfectly, but this time, I'm not so sure. Every single one of these processors is labeled as broken. And when it comes to CPU, repair isn't exactly easy. In fact, about 90% of these are probably completely dead, and the other 10% might still work, but not perfectly. But for just $30, I couldn't resist the risk. So now it's time to find out. Can I actually bring any of these CPU back to life? Or did I just throw $30 straight into the trash? Let's start with the first one. First up, we have the Intel Core i3-9100F. And honestly, just looking at it, I would never guess this thing is broken. Everything looks almost perfect. There are no visible chips or cracks. The backside is completely intact, and the contact pads still look clean and shiny. The only thing I noticed is a very slight sign of oxidation, but it's minimal. Hopefully, it won't affect the CPU at all. Alright, to test these unlucky CPU, I'll need a fully working system. And since some of these processors don't have an integrated GPU, I'll also need a dedicated graphics card for display output. But before testing anything, I need to make sure the system itself is 100% stable. So I'm going to use a known working CPU as a reference. This will act as my control CPU, helping me confirm that everything else in the system is functioning properly. That way, if the system fails to boot with one of these chips, I'll know for sure the problem is coming from the CPU itself, not something else. Alright, let's drop it into the motherboard, short the power pins, and see what happens. On the first attempt, the system actually powers on, but there's no display output at all. Thankfully, I chose a motherboard with debug LED so we can get a better idea of what's going on. And yeah, why, it's stuck on the CPU indicator. Even worse, the system starts showing a power flickering behavior. Basically a boot loop. This usually means the CPU fails to initialize. At first I thought it might be a BIOS compatibility issue, but I already tested this board with an Intel Core i5-9400F and it worked perfectly. So there's no way it wouldn't support the i3-9100F. That possibility is officially ruled out. Next, I suspected it could be a bad contact issue. So I cleaned the CPU pads carefully using isopropyl alcohol, reinstalled it, and even moved the RAM to a different slot, just in case there was some kind of memory channel compatibility problem. And then I tried again, but unfortunately, nothing changed. The system is still stuck in the exact same state. At this point, things get even worse. The CPU isn't even producing any heat at all, and that's a really bad sign, because it basically confirms that the CPU is completely dead. So yeah, that's a failure on the very first chip, and honestly, that's pretty disappointing. Alright, let's move on to the second CPU. This time, I've got an Intel Core i3-8100. Now this isn't anything crazy in terms of performance. It's more of a basic office chip, and on the used market, it usually goes for around $15 to $20. But if I can bring this one back to life, I'd already recover about half of the money I spent. And honestly, I feel a bit more confident about this one. The condition looks really good, almost no scratches. Everything appears clean and well preserved. But at the same time, after what just happened with the first CPU, I can't help but feel a little nervous. So the question is, am I finally going to make some money back? Or is this going to be another failure? Let's install it and find out. I honestly can't believe it. This CPU is showing the exact same behavior as the first one. The debug LED is still stuck on the CPU indicator, and there's absolutely no progress at all. But here's the strange part. When I checked the temperature, this one behaves very differently. It actually gets extremely hot. Like, hot enough that I probably shouldn't touch it for more than a few seconds, or I'd risk burning my fingers. And yet, despite all that heat, there's still no signal to the monitor or keyboard. Nothing. At this point, I tried one more thing. I gently cleaned the contact surface using ultrafine sandpaper, just to improve the connection a bit. Nothing too aggressive. Reinstalled everything, and hoped for a miracle. But yeah, still nothing. Honestly, I can't dig much deeper than this. I don't have any advanced diagnostic tools, and there's not much we can do with this makeshift test bench either. At this point, there's really no way to save it. I didn't expect to be this disappointed, especially when both CPU failed in almost the same way. But it is what it is. Let's move on to the third CPU. Now this one is interesting. It's not just one CPU, but two of them. One looks perfectly fine, but the other one has several missing capacitors on the back. And honestly, I have no idea if it can still function normally. Hopefully this doesn't end up like the first two CPU. So I'm going to start with the damaged one first, an Intel Xeon E52686V4, a server-grade processor. And I'm actually pretty excited about this, because I once saw a video from the channel What About a PC where he literally removed capacitors from a and it still worked. So I'm really hoping for the same outcome here. To test it, I'm going to use my NAS server system. Alright, let's power it on. And oh my god, I hear a beep. That's a very good sign. And I can't believe it, it actually works. Jumping into CPU-Z, it correctly identifies the chip as the exact CPU I bought. So at least for now, it's alive. But the real question is, can it actually run stably under load? To find out, I'm going to test it using Cinebench R23. Alright, I'm going to start by testing its multi-core performance. If it can pass this test, then honestly, this would be an absolute steal, but no way. It crashes almost immediately. The screen just goes completely black right after starting the test. This kind of behavior usually points to a power delivery issue, which makes sense considering the missing capacitors. So I had to restart the system. Next, I tried some more real-world tests. I opened 100 Chrome tabs and the CPU was only using about 50% of its capacity. And surprisingly, it was still running fine. But when I pushed it to 200 tabs, yeah, it couldn't handle it. The system crashed again with the same black screen. That said, let's be honest, no one actually needs to run 200 Chrome tabs at once. So in a way, this CPU is still usable, just within certain limits. Because those missing capacitors are responsible for stabilizing voltage, and without them, the CPU simply can't maintain stability under heavy load. Now let's try something different, gaming. I tested it with Fortnite, and interestingly, it didn't crash at all. That's probably because the game doesn't fully utilize all CPU cores, so the overall load stays relatively low. So yeah, you can game on this damaged CPU, but honestly, using it feels like driving a massive truck just to go to school. It works, but it's definitely not what it was meant for. Alright, let's move on to the next Xeon CPU. This one is an Intel Xeon E51650V2, a pretty old chip that was released back in 2013. Unlike most server CPU that focus mainly on core count and threads, this one is actually tuned for higher clock speeds. It can boost all the way up to 3.9 GHz, which is pretty impressive for a chip from that era. So in theory, it should still be decent for certain workloads, even gaming. But of course, none of that matters if it doesn't work. So let's install it and see what kind of problem we're dealing with. Thank God, the system actually powers on. It even auto boots into Windows, and then, what the hell? Blue screen of death. I honestly had no idea what was going on. At first I thought it might be the storage drive, so I swapped in another one. But nope, still couldn't get into Windows. That's when I started suspecting the CPU. To confirm, I installed a known working CPU, and instantly, the system boots perfectly. No issues at all. At this point, I was just confused. So what exactly is wrong with this CPU? After digging through a bunch of posts on YouTube and Reddit, I found someone with a very similar issue. And their solution was interesting. They disabled some of the cores because in cases like this, it's possible that a few cores are faulty, causing the system to crash during boot. So here's what I did. I used a working CPU to boot into Windows, then manually reduced the number of processors, basically limiting how many cores Windows can use during startup. Then I swapped back to the Xeon and tried again. And oh my god, it worked. The system finally booted into Windows. But as you can see, I've effectively lost half of the cores and threads. And inside Windows, it's still correctly recognized as an Intel Xeon E51650V2. So now, let's see how it actually performs in games. Once I got into a match, the FPS was hovering around 70 FPS, with some occasional drops here and there. Nothing amazing, but honestly, it's totally playable. And considering everything this CPU has been through, the fact that it's still working at all, that's already a huge win for me. Now moving on to the final CPU. This one is an Intel Core i5-4460S, a low-power chip designed for efficiency. At first glance, it looks completely normal. No visible damage, no scratches, nothing suspicious at all. But as we've already seen, looks can be very misleading. So the only way to know for sure is to test it. I've got a fully working system ready, and now it's time for the moment of truth. Will it boot, or is it already dead? And yeah, nothing. No display, no signal, no signs of life at all. It's basically showing the exact same symptoms as the first two CPU. I tried swapping the RAM, reseating everything, and even going through a few basic troubleshooting steps, but nothing made a difference. At this point, CPU that don't even post a display signal are extremely difficult to recover. So I guess this is where I have to call it. This one is completely dead. So in total, I only managed to save 2 CPU, but considering I spent $30, I'm still taking a bit of a loss, especially since neither of them is fully perfect. Still, I guess it could have been worse. And that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.